Well, good afternoon all, and welcome to the Vale of Glamorgan Council Cabinet meeting using the Council's hybrid platform, taking place today on Thursday the 14th of December 2023. I'm Councillor Liz Burnett and I'm chair of this meeting as the leader of the Vale of Glamorgan Council and Cabinet member for Performance and Resources. If I could firstly remind members and officers that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be uploaded to the Vale of Glamorgan Council's website as soon as is practicable after the meeting. As this format is slightly different to the one that we're all used to using, could I ask all participants to please ensure that if participating in person in the chamber, that their microphone is not activated, or that remote attendees should mute themselves when not speaking to avoid any background noise or feedback when other participants are speaking. And if a participant wishes to speak, if they could either activate their respective request to speak function or use the raise hand function if attending remotely. And if I miss it on the multiple screens, the cabinet officer will alert me. Members are asked to ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. And the chat function should be used to highlight any technical issues and or to get the attention of the chair or democratic services officers, because at the end of the day we're still getting used to this system and sometimes there will be little tweaks and things that need to happen. So that's the introduction for today. And so if I could just move that document out of the way and move to item 1 on the agenda, and that's apologies for absence. I have one apology for absence, and that is Councillor Bronwyn Brooks, who sadly is attending a funeral this afternoon. But I can see that we have everybody else who should be here present, either online or in the chamber, so there are no other apologies. Super. Agenda item 2 is minutes of the meeting held on the 30th of November 2023. And if I could take those as a true reflection of the meeting. We have great, the seconding Gwyn, and Sandra's nodding approval. We've got Mark online, that's great, and no dissent, so yes, they're agreed. Moving forward to agenda item 3, that's declarations of interest. And if there are any, the nature of such interest, I'm not aware of any interest being declared. And I can't see any indications either. So
no, there were none formally declared, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah. Agenda item 4 is Cardiff Capital Region Regional Cabinet of the 9th of October. That's a report of the meeting. I think there have been comments that these minutes are very succinct, but I think it's worth pointing out that they are designed to be read alongside the agenda, so that you can read the agenda in terms of what was discussed and then see what the decision was in terms of the minutes. But they've always been included as so that people know what's going on, whether or not we need a different way of communicating them. I think that we'll have further discussions on that. But on that note, anyway, I would move that we note those minutes.
I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Sandra. And no dissent. Mark's nodding on screen as well. Excellent. So moving on to my reports, if I can just get the right one up. This is the agenda item 5. This is the council tax base for 2024-25, and this is in effect a housekeeping step in as we move forward into budget setting, and we develop. There is a formula for determining the number of Band D equivalent properties for the authority, and also within each of our towns and community councils, and that's laid out in the report in a table. So the calculation, if I was going to say it, is laid out on paragraph 2.1 in terms of how the end figures are arrived at. And paragraph 2.2 actually talks about the assumptions that have been made in coming to that figure. These figures have to be sent off to Welsh Government by the end of 31st of December. We have already forwarded a draft copy, or a certified draft copy, in order to meet the Welsh Government deadline of the 14th of November. But as I said, the final results will go through by the end of December. So they're fairly straightforward recommendations before us today. In fact, it's not recommendations, it's just one recommendation, is that pursuant to this report and in accordance with the local authorities' calculation of tax base regulations, the amount calculated by the Vale of Glamorgan Council as its council tax base for the year 2024-25 will be, for the whole area, 63,397. And for the area of town and community councils, you'll see that laid out in the table within recommendation 1. And I would so move. I was going to say,
I can second it, or Mark can.
we're going to have to find be more coordinated on this. So Sandra's in the room. Sandra's seconding it. Ruba spoke next. So Ruba, I take it Sandra's moving, Ruba's seconding, and everybody's in agreement. So that's fine. Moving on to agenda item 6, that's the council tax precept dates. And as Cabinet would be aware, that when council tax bills drop on doorsteps, the whole council tax includes collections that have been made for other bodies. So there is a section of the council tax that is for the Police and Crime Commissioner for South Wales, and there is also some for town and community councils. In fact, there's actually also a proportion in terms of council tax for the South Wales Fire and Rescue Service, but that's not included in this as a precept. And so the Vale collects that as part of council tax. And this gives details of when the dates in which those amounts of money are paid out to the two bodies. So if you look at paragraph 2.1, it says that the Police and Crime Commissioner receives equal instalments on the last working day of each month, and town and community councils are paid in 3 equal instalments on the last working days of April, August and December. And again, this is something that we do every year so that we've agreed when those payments can be made and those bodies can budget accordingly. So the recommendations are that the payment due to the Police and Crime Commissioner for South Wales be paid in 12 equal instalments on the last working day of each month. And recommendation 2 is that payments due to town and community councils be paid in 3 equal instalments on the last working days of April, August and December 2024. And I would move. And I can see that Mark's already on the screen. So are you seconding, Mark?
I am seconding, but I also say that it's pretty useful for town and community councils and also other authorities to know when they get the money in, because it helps with their management of their cash flow.
Yeah, exactly. And a slippage by a month or so could make quite a difference, couldn't it? So this is why we formally agree that as a council. So that's super. There's no dissent, so okay on that. Agenda item 7 is the council tax reduction scheme. Now, this is something that we actually operate annually. The report actually sets out the discretions available to the council for consideration when adopting the council tax reduction national scheme for next year. And it's recommending that the readoption of the council tax reduction scheme together with the limited discretions available to the council. And this is something that we've done every year anyway. And it's part of the actual prescribed requirements and regulations from the from Welsh Government. So it's fairly straightforward. We've been operating as it is since 2013, and Welsh local authorities have got until 31st of January each year to adopt a scheme. So if you look at paragraph 2.2, the discretionary elements are outlined, and you know that's about the increase to increase the standard extended reduction period of 4 weeks to given to people when they return to work. So it's not a completely straight cut off. Discretion in terms of whole amount of war disablement pensions and war widows pensions. So it means that they're not taken into account in means testing, and the ability to backdate the application of council tax reduction. So these are fairly straightforward. It's what we've been doing, but it's something that we're expected to do each year. So there are 3 recommendations. Firstly, the Cabinet recommends to full council that the council tax reduction schemes and prescribed regulations, Wales regulations, SI 2013 3029, that's the prescribed requirements regulations, and the council tax reduction schemes, prescribed requirements and default scheme, and that's Wales Amendment Regulations 2014 SI 2014/66 be adopted. It is all technical, but it needs to be minuted. The Cabinet recommends to full council to note that any amendments to regulations made by Welsh Government are reflected in the scheme. And finally, that Cabinet recommends to full council that the national scheme is adopted with the following discretions. One, that the council should continue to allow extended payments up to a maximum of 4 weeks. Secondly, that the council should continue to disregard war widow and war disablement pensions in assessing income for council tax reduction. And finally, that the council should continue to allow backdated reductions for a period of up to 26 weeks. And I would move. Eddie, you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I very much support this. When I first saw the report, I was a bit concerned and not realising that it's something you have to do every year anyway as part of the requirements. But to have the recommendations that we've got before us, which goes into the prescribed requirements, shows that how much we're supporting not only people that are in need, but also the veterans and the armed forces. So there's been quite a few questions over the year on how much the council supports the veteran community, and this is another example of where we do. So I'd like to second that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. And we haven't got any dissent, so that's agreed. And then on to agenda item 8, and this is council tax premiums for long-term empty properties and second homes. This is something that we actually just determined last year, but this is the next year of it. And so the purpose of the report is threefold, and it's to reaffirm that previous decision not to grant any discount in council tax for long-term empty properties or second homes, and to approve changes to the level of premium charged in relation to long-term empty properties for the forthcoming 2024-25 financial year, and finally to reaffirm the Cabinet's previous decision to introduce a premium on second homes for 2025. And it's an interesting one. You know, when we did this and we had a consultation last year, and there were a number of people that got in touch and were saying that, you know, this was an issue. And I suppose if you look at paragraph 1.5 of the report, and it says that, you know, when we originally looked at it, there were 402 second homes initially identified as being eligible to be subject to a premium. And the current figure is actually 508. However, as with the empty properties, this figure is expected to reduce due to the exceptions which are the same and are applicable to the long-term empty properties. So we've estimated that approximately half of the current number of second homes will either be accepted or will be brought back into use. And if anybody has a house that they would like to bring back into use for people to live in, you know, whether that to be to rent or to sell or whatever, there are grants available through the council, because I need to clarify that this policy, the whole purpose of it is to bring properties into use for people in the Vale who need homes. We have a sizable shortfall in the availability of homes for people in the Vale, and so it's only right that we should do everything we can to encourage those properties to come back into use for local people. So we are going to continue with this policy, and the current policy is to charge a premium of 100% on properties that have been long-term empty for a continuous period of 12 months or more. And the current policy is for 100% premium to be charged on second homes from April the 1st, 2024. And it's proposed that this policy takes effect as planned for the next financial year. In terms of properties that have been long-term empty, it's proposed that the policy continues until the property has remained in this state for a period of 24 months, at which time a 150% premium be charged, and then from the next year on, it would go up to a 200% premium, recognising that quite often when there are issues of probate, etc., that there could be issues of properties being empty for longer, but we do feel strongly that this is the right policy to continue and to take forward. So it's fairly straightforward, just getting the terminology, and I think that within the report there are exemptions that can apply as well in certain cases. So for example, if a second home is let and it contributes in terms of tourism, I can't speak now, etc., then it could be it could register for business rates, and that would be a whole different thing. But looking at the 5 recommendations before us, and that is that the policy with regard to not granting any level of discount for unoccupied dwellings that have remained so for 6 months, agreed for 2023-24, be agreed for 2024-25. 2, that the long-term empty property premium of 100% agreed by full council on the 6th March 2023 and for the 2023-24 financial year continue for such properties from 2024-25 that remains so for the period up to but not including 24 months. 3, that from the 1st of April 2024 a premium of 150% be introduced for long-term empty properties that have remained as such for a continuous period of 24 months or more. 4, that from the 1st of April, a premium of 200% be introduced for long-term empty properties that have remained as such for a continuous period of 36 months or more. And finally, that the policy to introduce a premium of 100% on second homes for the 2024-25 financial year, agreed on the 6th of March 2023, be reaffirmed. And I would move.
I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you, Sandra. And I don't have any dissent. No, got some thumbs up. That's therefore passed. And then moving on to agenda item 9. This is over to the Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services, the disposal of former toilet block at Llantwit Major Beach. So this is over to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Chair. And this report is a very brief report, and it's basically about disposable toilets. We've received some interest from a party who's interested in buying it, and obviously, you know, we got to have a duty of fairness and invite other parties, if necessary, to bid for these toilets. And these are sort of assets that the council has to deem what we call surplus to requirements. So I'm going to move to the actual recommendations now. So the first recommendation is that the unused former toilet block at Llantwit Major Beach be declared surplus to requirements of Directorate of Environment and Housing Services. That's number 1. Number 2, that the site be marketed with the opportunity of a lease for up to a maximum of 25 years. Number 3, that the criteria for evaluating any expression of interest in this site be structured to reflect both price and community benefit. And number 4, that any expressions of interest in this site be reported to Cabinet for a final decision on leasing the site. So I so move.
Thank you, Mark. And I believe I have Eddie that wants to come in.
Thank you, Leader. Sorry about that, I just pressed the button twice. Thank you, Leader. It's interesting when you see an advertisement of a toilet block that's no longer used, you think, oh, right, okay. But having had a look at the site, and it is an area that I know it's used by some people, and there's graffiti and the like there. So it's time that it was used for a good reason. This group that have come forward, yes, I'm hoping that they understand it. As a council, we do have to make it public, and in order to see if there's anybody else, just in case, and we can see what their proposals are for the site. It definitely needs some use, and I'm very supportive of this being moved forward. So I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Eddie. And I believe that we're just trying to get Councillor John online at the moment.
There we are.
Oh, here we are, yes.
Yeah, we are. Thank you, Leader.
There we are, you're on screen
Solve
as well.
the problem. Yeah, well, quite honestly, I mean, these old toilets, they're probably haven't been used for about 30 years. And they're going to have to do a lot of work to access them. And quite honestly, if they can be made to any use at all, I'm certainly very supportive, because quite honestly, they're an eyesore at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwyn. So that's been moved and seconded and is supported. So that's passed. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 10, and this is for the Cabinet Member for Public Sector Housing and Tenant Engagement, who's just dashed back from engaging with tenants. And And over to Sandra with Safer Vale Partnership Strategy 2023 to 2028.
Thank you, Chair. This report seeks the approval of the Safer Vale Partnership Strategy 23 to 28 and to agree the funding that supports the delivery of the Safer Vale Partnership Strategy. So if I give some more background into it, the Crime and Disorder Act 98 placed a requirement on local authorities to work with other statutory bodies to form community safety partnerships to prevent, reduce and tackle crime and disorder across their community. The Safer Vale Partnership is the Vale of Glamorgan's response to this requirement, and over the 2020 to 2023 period under the previous strategy, the partnership, which is made up of Health, South Wales Police, Probation, Fire and Rescue and the Council, delivered a number of positive outcomes to innovatively respond to crime and disorder issues across the Vale. A notable outcome included the full upgrade and expansion of CCTV across the Vale of Glamorgan, which has already assisted in the investigations and resulted in the identification of a number of perpetrators through its improved footage and operating protocols. This report presents the Safer Vale Partnership's new strategy to cover the years 2023 to 2028. The strategy carries the same priorities over from the existing strategy, which are to prevent and reduce crime and disorder, engage with those who live and work in Visit the Vale, safeguard the vulnerable and work together to deliver the actions of the strategy. The strategy highlights the Safer Vale's area of focus, which are antisocial behaviour, violence against women, domestic and sexual violence, substance misuse, community cohesion and engagement, the contest or UK counter-terrorism agenda, and serious violence, which will be about responding to the new requirements placed on the partnership through the Serious Violence Duty that came out in December 2022 to better understand and deliver interventions to address serious violence in the local area. The delivery plan for the year will include implementing new interventions that have been awarded through Safer Streets funding, Shared Prosperity funding and ASB hotspots monies, as well as renewing and updating all policies, procedures and information sharing protocols that ensure tight governance arrangements sit around the work of the partnership. The strategy's new 5-year approach reflects the nature of community safety and how priorities are expected to change within the strategy's time frame. The priorities and focus areas are intentionally broad enough to allow the space for a breadth of specific actions that will be intelligence-led and needs-based. The strategy will be accompanied by a yearly delivery plan, which will be informed by an annual strategic assessment, ensuring that individual actions are delivered in line with the specific needs of the Vale at the time of strategic assessment. This reflects a lesson learned through the life of the last 3 years strategy and the 3-year delivery plan, which needed significant unforeseen amendments as a result of the sudden change landscape caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The recommendations are for Cabinet to adopt this new strategy in order for the Council to meet its statutory duty under the Crime and Disorder Act, and secondly, for the Cabinet to agree that further reports on the Council's actions in the delivery of this strategy are referred to Cabinet for consideration as appropriate, and that further information reports concerning the Council's actions in the delivery of this strategy be provided as information reports to elected members in due course. I'd like to move those recommendations.
Thank you, Sandra. I can see that I have Councillor Sivanyanam that's waiting to speak.
Happy to second, Leader.
Thank you, Gwyn. Ruba, are you on there? Yeah.
Thank you, Leader. I was going to second that report as well, and really just comment that this strategy, which is based on the foundations of the previous years, is really important because it is about partnership working, and the essence of this partnership working is to do 2 things. It's not only to deal with those issues as they arise, whether it's violence against women, young people, and so on, but also to look at prevention. And that's why it's about working in partnership with the other bodies that will allow us to do that. So it's really important that people don't dismiss this as just another strategy. It's a really important strategy that will be important for all of the partners that are working within that. So I wholeheartedly support this. Thank you.
Thank you both, and thank you, Gwyn, as well, because you were covering community safety until Sandra was appointed. So I think that it's a bit of a good double act on there, and Ruba as well. So no dissent on that. So I think we can take that as agreed. Thank you. Then on to our final item of today, and that is sports development regionalisation. And this is one for Gwyn, Cabinet Member for Leisure, Sport and Wellbeing. So over to you, Gwyn.
Thank you, Leader. Sport Wales has been progressing a regionalisation model for sports development for approximately 5 years. The proposed geographical model follows that established for the regional educational partnerships, with the Vale of Glamorgan placed within Central South region. Sport Wales is keen that the partnerships include additional partners such as health boards and regional educational establishments. The choice of operating model of the partnership needs to be agreed by the partners and is likely to vary across Wales. Central South discussions have concluded that the establishment of a company limited by guarantee, with an option to explore charitable status later, that will distribute funds to local authorities based primarily on existing levels, would be the most advantageous operating model. The conclusion is based on the vast geographical and population differences between the various partners. Clearly, where opportunities exist to work in partnership with another member of all members of the Central South Sports Partnership, these will be fully explored. Discussions have been ongoing with Sport Wales and the 5 local authorities, Bridgend, Cardiff, Merthyr Tydfil, Rhondda Cynon and the Vale of Glamorgan, to be included in a Central South region. These discussions have considered the benefits of regionalisation and the potential models that could be adopted to deliver an effective and efficient partnership. Given the variation that exists between existing delivery models for sports development, land areas, mainly urban to large areas of the countryside, and significant population variations, it has proven challenging to choose a model where everyone feels an equal partner. Currently, Sport Wales provides separate funding directly to the 5 local authorities located in Central South. These local authorities are then responsible for spending this funding in their respective areas. When the regional partnership for sport and physical activity becomes fully operational, it will then receive and distribute the regional investment into Central South from Sport Wales. This investment will be based on the new investment criteria and will be communicated to all current partners from September 24. There are no immediate financial implications at this stage of the process, as detailed in the report. All costs associated with the establishment of the sports partnership are being met by Sport Wales. The Vale of Glamorgan received a grant of £333,302 from Sport Wales for sports development activities in 2023-24. Any significant future financial changes to this grant will be reported to Cabinet and Scrutiny Committees as appropriate. During recent conversations with Sport Wales, all funded partners, including local authorities and governing bodies for sport, have been warned that there could be cuts in grant for 24-25 because of reduced funding for Sport Wales from Welsh Government and not regionalised proposals. That is for the future, leader. At the moment, we need to get cracking with this, because there are two areas already set up, and that's West Wales and North Wales. So we hope to be the next one, and it is therefore recommended that the Vale Glamorgan Council plays an active role as an executive member of the new Central South Sports Partnership. And today I have the following recommendations, and that: 1, the Director of Environment and Housing Services, in consultation with the Monitoring Officer, Head of Legal and Democratic Services, be authorised to agree the governance arrangements and enter the Vale of Glamorgan Council into the Central South Sports Partnership as a strategic partner. 2, that this report be referred to Healthy Living and Social Care Scrutiny Committee for its consideration. And 3, that the Healthy Living and Social Care Scrutiny Committee receive regular reports on the progress of Central South Regional Sports Partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwyn. And that seems eminently sensible. And we've worked very productively with Sport Wales, haven't we, in the past? I would be delighted to second that. And I can't see that we have anyone else to speak on that. So I would take it that with no dissent, then that's fully agreed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's all the reports that we've got today. I have no part 2 items and no urgent items. And this is actually our final Cabinet meeting of 2023. And hopefully for us, but for many, it will be an opportunity for time for relaxation and spending a bit of time with family and friends. But I think I have to recognise that for very, very many people in the Vale of Glamorgan, it's actually going to be business as usual, totally irrespective of the festivities going on around them. And whether that be our waste and recycling teams, who'll probably have an even harder job with the increased levels of waste and recycling they'll be picking up. If we have cold spells, our HGV drivers will be out making sure our roads are gritted. Our domiciliary carers and those working within our local care homes. And having recently done a shift in one of our care homes, I know only too well the amazing work that they do. Down to our telecare operators, at the end of the phone line, 24 hours a day for our vulnerable Vale residents. They're a vital support for those who need assistance. Our housing team will be on call in case anybody finds themselves in difficulties. And for those who face crises over the festive season, organisations such as Samaritans operate every day of the year for people who will need support. Locally, our shops will be still there, apart from just a couple of days off, making sure that we have sufficient food and drink and presents for our loved ones. And they've worked all but a few days right up until the holidays. And that would include, shops, pubs, restaurants, etc. And then our local emergency services will be on call. And, fire, police and rescue, ambulance services, RNLI and Coast Guards will all be still functional over that period. So I think a message from us here is that if you're working through Christmas and New Year, whether you're a carer, a refuse lorry loader, a shop assistant, a chef, a nurse, road repairs gang doing emergency works, a waitress, somebody helping to someone find a home, or one of the thousands of people who've helped others over the festive season, you have our thanks and gratitude. So on behalf of Cabinet, we wish everyone a very happy Christmas, and we look forward very much to seeing you all in 2024.